I'm Virginia, 35 years old, and that day still haunts me. My sister Amanda's wedding should have been beautiful, but instead it turned into my worst nightmare. The look on my daughter Lily's face when her aunt, my own sister, grabbed her by the hair still makes me sick. I never thought my family could betray us like that all over money I'd saved for my little girl's future. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button if you believe family should protect, not hurt each other. Life as a single mother isn't easy, but I've made it work for 5 years now. After my divorce from Tom, I promised myself that Lily would never feel the absence of her father in terms of opportunities. Despite working 2 jobs, I managed to save $15,000 for Lily's college fund. It wasn't a fortune, but it represented countless extra shifts, skipped lunches, and saying no to small luxuries for myself. Lily was my world, a sensitive 9-year-old, with a talent for art and the kindest heart. She could spend hours creating watercolor paintings or making handmade cards for people. Her teachers often commented on her empathy, how she would comfort other children when they were upset. I sometimes wondered how I had gotten so lucky to have such a thoughtful child. My relationship with my younger sister Amanda was complicated at best. Growing up, she was always the golden child in our mother Diana's eyes. While I was expected to be responsible and practical, Amanda was encouraged to dream big and take risks. This dynamic continued into adulthood, with my mother constantly praising Amanda's achievements while barely acknowledging mine. Amanda had landed a high-paying job at a prestigious marketing firm after college and lived a lifestyle I could barely imagine. Designer clothes, luxury vacations, and a penthouse apartment in the city. She dated equally successful men, and when she got engaged to James, a businessman from a wealthy family, our mother was ecstatic. I was genuinely happy for my sister despite our differences. I wanted her to have a beautiful wedding and a happy marriage. When she called to announce her engagement, I congratulated her sincerely and offered to help with wedding preparations in any way I could. The first warning signs appeared when Amanda began planning her wedding. What started as an elegant affair quickly evolved into an extravagant showcase. The venue was changed 3 times each, more expensive than the last. The guest list expanded from 100 to 300 people. Every detail had to be perfect and unique. Lily and I went shopping for dresses for the wedding, finding affordable but nice options at a department store. Lily was excited about wearing a fancy dress and being part of her aunt's special day. She twirled in front of the mirror in a pale blue dress, with a satin ribbon, looking absolutely beautiful. "Do you think Aunt Amanda will like my dress, Mom?" she asked, her eyes bright with excitement. "She'll love it, sweetie," I assured her, hoping it was true. I tried to be supportive of Amanda, despite her increasingly demanding behavior. When she called at midnight to vent about floral arrangements, or complained about bridesmaid dresses not being the exact shade she wanted, I listened patiently. I remembered how stressed I had been before my own wedding, and tried to give her grace. One Sunday, about a month before the wedding, Amanda came over for brunch. It was a rare moment of normalcy between us. Lily had made a special card for her aunt, decorated with watercolor flowers, and a sweet message about being excited for the wedding. Amanda seemed genuinely touched. "This is beautiful, Lily. You're so talented," she said, giving my daughter a hug. "Maybe you could make some place cards for the reception in this style." Lily beamed with pride. "I can make them all. How many do you need?" Amanda laughed. "There are 300 guests, sweetie. That would be too much work. But maybe you could make special ones for the head table." Lily nodded eagerly, already planning her designs. That moment gave me hope that despite everything, our family bonds were still strong. Amanda and I shared childhood memories over coffee, while Lily sketched ideas for the place cards. For a few hours, it felt like we were truly sisters again, supporting each other without judgment or competition. That hope was short-lived. 2 weeks before the wedding, my mother called, her voice unusually serious. "Virginia, we need to have a family meeting tomorrow. It's about the wedding. Can you meet us at Bellini's at 6? Bellini's was an expensive restaurant downtown, not somewhere I would normally go. Is everything okay? I asked, concerned. We'll discuss everything tomorrow, she replied cryptically before hanging up. I had no idea that this meeting would be the beginning of a nightmare that would change our family forever. Bellini's was bustling with well-dressed patrons when Lily and I arrived the next evening. I hadn't been able to find a babysitter on short notice, so Lily came along with her sketchbook and colored pencils. We found my mother and Amanda already seated at a corner table, cocktails in hand. Sorry I had to bring Lily, I said as we sat down. My regular sitter wasn't available. My mother glanced at Lily with barely concealed annoyance. This is an adult conversation, Virginia. I'll be quiet, Grandma Lily promised, opening her sketchbook. I'll just draw. Amanda signaled a waiter. Let's order first, then talk. The conversation remained pleasant through appetizers. Amanda talked about final wedding details, and my mother shared gossip about wedding guests. I relaxed slightly, wondering if I had misinterpreted the urgency in my mother's voice. After our main courses arrived, the atmosphere shifted. My mother set down her fork and looked at me intently. Virginia, we have a situation with the wedding, and we need your help. Amanda nodded, suddenly serious. The catering company backed out yesterday. Some nonsense about double booking. That's terrible, I said sympathetically. Can you find another caterer this close to the wedding? We found one, my mother replied, but they require full payment up front because of the short notice. $15,000. The specific amount sent a chill through me. $15,000 was exactly what I had saved for Lily's college fund over 5 years of scrimping and saving. We need you to cover it, Amanda stated bluntly. You can transfer the money tomorrow. I stared at them in disbelief. You want me to pay $15,000 for your wedding catering? It's a loan, my mother added quickly. Amanda and James will pay you back after the honeymoon. Why can't James help, I asked. Or you, Mom. Or even Amanda with her high-paying job. Amanda rolled her eyes. James already paid for the venue. Mom covered the flowers and band. I'm paying for everything else. We've all contributed substantially. But $15,000 is all I have saved for Lily's future, I explained, lowering my voice so Lily wouldn't hear. That's her college fund. My mother reached across the table, patting my hand condescendingly. Virginia, family comes first. Amanda only gets married once. Lily won't need college money for years. But what if you don't pay me back? I asked already, knowing the answer. Amanda looked offended. Of course we'll pay you back. Eventually, when we're settled. This is your sister's special day, my mother added. It's just money, Virginia. Lily can get student loans like most kids if necessary. I noticed Lily had stopped drawing and was watching us with worried eyes. She might not understand everything, but she sensed the tension. I want to help, but I can't empty Lily's college fund, I said firmly. Maybe I could contribute $1,000 to help, but not $15,000. Amanda's face hardened. It's all or nothing. The new caterer won't accept partial payment. Then I'm sorry, but I can't do it, I replied. My mother's expression turned cold. You've always been selfish, Virginia. Always thinking about yourself first. Taking care of my daughter's future isn't selfish, I countered, trying to keep my voice steady. Amanda stood up abruptly. Fine. Then don't bother coming to the wedding. Either of you. My mother gasped. Amanda, wait. She'll reconsider. She turned to me. Virginia, think about what you're doing. This is your sister's wedding. How will it look if you're not there? The manipulation was so transparent, it almost made me laugh. Are you more concerned about how it looks, or about actual family bonds? You're being dramatic, Amanda snapped. If you truly cared about family, you'd help without all this fuss. Lily tugged at my sleeve. Mom, what's happening? Nothing, sweetie. Just adult stuff. I assured her, though. My hands were shaking. I need an answer now, Amanda demanded. Are you going to help your family or not? Looking at their expectant faces, I realized they truly believed I would give in, that I should give in, that my daughter's future was less important than a one-day celebration. My answer is no, I said firmly. I won't be taking that money from Lily's future. My mother's face flushed with anger. After everything we've done for you, you're so selfish and ungrateful. Amanda gathered her purse, glaring at me. You can still come to the wedding if you change your mind, and only if you change your mind. They left without saying goodbye, leaving Lily and me sitting at the table with half-eaten meals. Are we not going to Aunt Amanda's wedding anymore? Lily asked quietly on the drive home. I don't know, sweetie, I answered honestly. Aunt Amanda and Grandma are upset with me right now. Because of money. Children understand more than we give them credit for. Yes, because of money. Money that's for your future. I don't need it, Lily said simply. If it would make Aunt Amanda happy. Her selflessness brought tears to my eyes. That's very kind of you, Lily, but that money is important for your future, and Aunt Amanda should understand that. That night, after putting Lily to bed, I called my friend Mackenzie, who listened to the whole story without interruption. They're manipulating you, Virginia, she said finally. Amanda can afford this. So can your mom and James. This is a test to see if they can control you. What should I do? I asked. Stand your ground. Go to the wedding if you want. Be polite, but don't give them that money. After we hung up, I made my decision. We would attend the wedding as planned, bring our gifts and best wishes, but I would not be emptied Lily's college fund for catering that Amanda could afford. 2 days before the wedding, Amanda texted to say we could still attend. I took it as a sign that they'd resolved the catering issue without my money. I hoped the wedding day would help heal the rift between us. How wrong I was. The wedding venue was even more extravagant than I had imagined. A historic mansion with sprawling gardens, valets, parking guests, cars, and champagne being served as people arrived. Lily gasped when she saw it, her eyes wide with wonder. It looks like a castle from my books, Mom, she exclaimed, smoothing her blue dress nervously. I straightened my own modest dress, suddenly feeling underdressed, despite having worn my best outfit. Remember your manners today, Lily. This is a very fancy event. We were greeted coolly by my mother at the entrance. She air-kissed my cheek without making eye contact and barely acknowledged Lily. Amanda's getting ready upstairs, she said. The ceremony starts in an hour. Find seats toward the back, please. The dismissal stung, but I kept my expression neutral for Lily's sake. We wandered through the venue, admiring the elaborate floral arrangements and crystal decorations that must have cost a fortune. Professional photographers and videographers circulated documenting every detail. Mom, look at the cake. Lily pointed to a 6-tier masterpiece decorated with sugar flowers and gold leaf. It's the prettiest cake I've ever seen. I nodded, noticing a sign naming the prestigious bakery it came from. Another expense that made the catering emergency seem increasingly suspicious. We found seats in the garden, where the ceremony would take place, not all the way in the back, as my mother had suggested, but not prominently placed either. Lily took photos with my phone, excited to be part of such a grand event despite the tension. James's family occupied the front rows on the right side. They were clearly wealthy, the women adorned with fine jewelry and designer outfits, the men in perfectly tailored suits. James's mother, Elizabeth, stood out in a sophisticated navy blue ensemble, her silver hair elegantly styled. She had a commanding presence that drew attention without effort. As we waited for the ceremony to begin, I overheard a conversation between 2 of Amanda's bridesmaids standing nearby. Can you believe her sister refused to help with the catering crisis? One whispered. Amanda was furious, the other replied. Said her sister's always been jealous of her. Apparently she's struggling financially and resents Amanda's success. I felt my cheeks burn, but kept my eyes forward, pretending not to hear. Their version of events was so twisted, it would have been laughable if it weren't so hurtful. The ceremony itself was beautiful, I had to admit. Amanda looked stunning in her designer gown, and James seemed genuinely in love as they exchanged vows. For a moment, watching my little sister promise to love and cherish her new husband, I felt a pang of nostalgia for the close relationship we once had as children. At the reception, Lily and I were seated at a table far from the main party with distant cousins and colleagues from James's work. The subtle slight was obvious, but I focused on making pleasant conversation and ensuring Lily was enjoying herself. The catering that had supposedly caused such a crisis was elaborate and flawless. Servers in formal attire presented course after course of gourmet food. The wine flowed freely, and a 10-piece band played throughout dinner. As I watched waitstaff bring out yet another course, I couldn't help but wonder how much this feast actually cost and why my $15,000 had been so desperately needed. My mother approached our table during dessert, her smile tight and her eyes slightly unfocused from wine. "Virginia, can we speak privately?" she asked. I excused myself, following her to a quiet corner of the terrace. "The wedding is lovely," I offered as an olive branch. "No thanks to you," she replied sharply. "James's parents ended up covering the catering when you refused." "I thought Amanda and James were handling it." My mother sniffed. "Elizabeth insisted on helping when she heard about the situation. But you should have been the one to step up. Your family." "Mom, I couldn't take that money from Lily's future. You know that." "It's just money," she repeated her refrain from the restaurant. "You could have found another way to save for Lily later." "Why was it so important that the money come from me specifically?" I asked, suddenly curious. "If James's family could easily cover it." She didn't answer directly. "You should have helped your sister. That's what family does." Before I could respond, Amanda appeared beside us in a cloud of expensive perfume. She'd changed into a second, equally elaborate gown for the reception. "Having a nice chat?" she asked, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Your wedding is beautiful, Amanda," I said sincerely. "Everything looks perfect." "It is perfect," she agreed. "No thanks to you." "Amanda," I sighed, "can we not do this today? I'm here to celebrate with you." "After you nearly ruined everything," she hissed, her voice low but intense. "You couldn't spare anything for my special day, but you're happy to enjoy the party." "That's not fair," I protested. "You know that money was for Lily's education." "Always hiding behind your daughter," Amanda spat, using her as an excuse for everything. James appeared then, placing a gentle hand on Amanda's shoulder. "Everything okay here?" "Fine," Amanda replied, composing herself quickly. "Just catching up with my sister." James smiled at me warmly. "Virginia Wright, Amanda's told me so much about you, and this must be your daughter I've heard about." He gestured to where Lily sat at our table, carefully eating her dessert. "Yes, that's Lily," I confirmed, grateful for his attempt at normalcy. "Amanda made it sound like you two aren't close," he commented, "but I'm glad you could make it today." An awkward silence followed as Amanda glared at me, daring me to explain the real situation. I chose diplomacy. "Family is complicated sometimes, but important," I said simply. James nodded. "Couldn't agree more." "Speaking of family, my mother wants to meet Amanda's side properly. Why don't you all join us at the main table for a toast?" My mother immediately brightened. "What a wonderful idea." Amanda looked less enthusiastic, but nodded stiffly. As James walked away to speak with other guests, Amanda leaned close to me. "Don't embarrass me in front of James's family. They're very important people." I checked my watch, noting it was getting late. "Actually, Lily and I should probably head out soon. It's past her usual bedtime." Amanda's expression darkened. "You can't leave yet. The party's barely started." "It's been a long day for Lily," I explained. "She's only 9. "Of course," my mother interjected sarcastically. "Lily comes first, as always." I took a deep breath, determined to exit gracefully. "Let me get Lily and say our goodbyes." "Congratulations again, Amanda. It was a beautiful wedding. As I turned to leave, Amanda grabbed my arm. "You're not going anywhere. You already ruined my wedding plans once. You're staying until I say you can leave." "Amanda, let go," I said firmly, pulling my arm free. "You're making a scene." Several nearby guests had already noticed the tension and were watching curiously. "I'm making a scene," Amanda's voice rose. "You've been trying to undermine my wedding from the start. You've always been jealous of me." James returned looking concerned. "Amanda, what's going on?" "She's trying to leave early," Amanda complained. "After everything, she can't even stay for the full reception." "It's getting late for my daughter," I explained to James. "She's tired." "Of course," James said reasonably. "Family events can be exhausting for kids." "No." Amanda's face contorted with anger. "They're staying. I'm the bride, and I say they're staying." Guests were openly staring now. I moved to return to our table, intending to collect Lily and leave as quietly as possible. Amanda followed her white gown, swishing angrily. "Don't you dare walk away from me on my wedding day." As I reached our table, Lily looked up, her expression concerned. "Mom, is everything okay?" Before I could answer, Amanda's gaze locked on Lily, and something in her expression changed. A cold calculation replaced the hot anger, and I felt a chill of premonition. It happened so fast. One moment Lily was sitting at the table looking up at us with worried eyes, and the next, Amanda had lunged forward and grabbed a fistful of my daughter's hair, yanking her out of her seat. "You care about her so much," Amanda screamed, dragging Lily toward the small stage where the band was playing. "More than your own sister." Lily's scream of pain cut through the reception noise like a knife. Guests gasped, conversations halted, the band stopped mid-song. "Amanda, stop!" I shouted, rushing after them. "Let her go." My mother stepped into my path, blocking me. "You brought this on yourself, Virginia. If you had just helped with the wedding, like I asked." I couldn't believe what was happening. I pushed past my mother, desperate to reach my daughter, but the crowd and tables slowed me down. Amanda had dragged Lily all the way to the side of the stage. Lily was crying and trying to free herself, her small hands clutching at Amanda's fingers in her hair. "Please, Aunt Amanda, you're hurting me," Lily sobbed. "Shut up," Amanda hissed, slamming Lily against the wall next to the stage. The thud of my daughter's body hitting the wall was sickening. The room had fallen completely silent, except for Lily's cries. Hundreds of guests watched in horror, but no one moved to intervene. They were frozen by the shocking scene unfolding before them. "This is your fault, Virginia," Amanda shouted across the room at me. "You could have prevented this." I finally broke through the crowd, running toward the stage. "Let her go now, Amanda." My mother was still behind me, saying, "Virginia, don't make this worse. Just promise to give her the money." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own mother was using my daughter's pain as leverage. James stood near the head table, his face a mask of shock and confusion. He took a step forward but seemed unsure what to do. Amanda, seeing me approaching, did the unthinkable. With a final vengeful glare in my direction, she shoved Lily off the edge of the stage. It wasn't high, perhaps 3 feet, but Lily fell awkwardly, her head striking the corner of a table before she crumpled to the floor. "Lily," I screamed, finally reaching her and dropping to my knees. Her forehead was bleeding where it had hit the table, and she was sobbing uncontrollably. "Mom," she whimpered, clutching at me. "It hurts." I gathered her in my arms, checking her body for other injuries. The entire reception hall remained in stunned silence, the beautiful wedding frozen in a tableau of horror. Amanda stood on the edge of the stage, her wedding gown gleaming under the lights, her face contorted with rage. "Look what you made me do. You ruined my wedding, Virginia. You always ruin everything." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I made you hurt a child. Your own niece." "She wouldn't be hurt if you had just given me the money," Amanda shouted, as if this logic made perfect sense. James had finally moved, approaching his new wife with a look of horror. "Amanda, what have you done?" My mother hurried over, but instead of checking on Lily, she focused on damage control. "Everyone, please. This is just a family misunderstanding. Please return to your tables. Enjoy the music." No one moved. No one resumed conversations. The band members looked at each other, uncertainly, instruments silent in their hands. I examined the cut on Lily's forehead. It wasn't deep, but was bleeding steadily. More concerning was the glazed look in her eyes. "I feel dizzy, Mom," she whispered. Cold fear gripped me. "She needs medical attention," I announced, looking around desperately. "Is there a doctor here?" Amanda was now arguing with James, gesturing wildly. "She's faking it for attention. Virginia has always been jealous of me." Diana stood beside them, trying to mediate. "Amanda, darling, calm down. This isn't helping." I was about to shout for help again, when the main doors to the reception hall opened with a decisive bang. The room, already quiet, became utterly still. Amanda, who had been mid-tirade, stopped abruptly, her face draining of color. "No," she whispered. I turned to see who had caused such a reaction. A tall, elegant woman stood in the doorway, taking in the scene with sharp, intelligent eyes. It was Elizabeth, James's mother, whom I had noticed earlier. The judge. She had apparently stepped out and returned to find the reception in chaos. Amanda's hands began to tremble. For the first time that evening, she looked afraid. Elizabeth surveyed the scene with a practiced eye, her gaze moving from Amanda on the stage to me kneeling with Lily in my arms. Without hesitation, she strode into the room, her presence commanding immediate respect. "What is happening here?" she asked, her voice calm but authoritative. No one spoke. The guests seemed collectively holding their breath. Elizabeth approached us, kneeling beside me despite her expensive outfit. "I'm Elizabeth Richards, James's mother. Is your daughter hurt?" "Yes," I managed, still cradling Lily. "She hit her head when she fell." My sister pushed her off the stage. Elizabeth's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes hardened. "I'm a family court judge," she said quietly. "I've seen too many children hurt by adults who should protect them." She gently examined the cut on Lily's forehead. "This needs medical attention." Amanda finally found her voice, stepping down from the stage and approaching us with James trailing behind her, looking shell-shocked. "Elizabeth, this isn't what it looks like," Amanda began, her voice unnaturally high. "We had a little family disagreement, and things got out of hand." Elizabeth stood facing Amanda directly. "I witnessed what happened from the doorway, Amanda. You dragged this child by her hair, slammed her against a wall, and pushed her off a stage. Those are facts, not interpretations." Amanda paled further. "She's my niece. It was just a family matter." "Assault of a child is never just a family matter," Elizabeth replied coolly. Diana rushed forward. "Elizabeth, you must understand. Virginia provoked this situation by refusing to help with a wedding emergency." Amanda was understandably upset. Elizabeth turned to my mother, her expression incredulous. "Are you suggesting that refusing a financial request justifies physical assault on a child?" Diana faltered under Elizabeth's gaze. "Well, no, but context matters." "Indeed it does," Elizabeth agreed. "The context here is that a bride assaulted a 9-year-old girl at her own wedding reception in front of hundreds of witnesses." She turned to the crowd. "Is there a doctor present?" An older gentleman stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Marshall, a general practitioner." "Would you please examine this child?" Elizabeth asked. "I'm concerned about a possible concussion." Dr. Marshall approached and knelt beside us. He gently examined Lily, checking her pupils and asking her simple questions. "She likely has a mild concussion," he confirmed after a few minutes. "The cut isn't deep enough for stitches, but she should be monitored for the next 24 hours. I recommend taking her to the emergency room to be safe." Elizabeth nodded. Thank you, doctor. She turned to me. I'll arrange for my driver to take you to the hospital immediately. This is ridiculous, Amanda interjected. It's just a bump on the head. Virginia is blowing this out of proportion to ruin my wedding. James finally spoke up, his voice tight with emotion. Amanda, stop. I saw what you did. Everyone saw what you did. Amanda's tone turned pleading. You don't understand. She's been trying to sabotage our wedding from the beginning. Elizabeth addressed her son directly. James, I need to speak with you privately. As they stepped aside, Amanda looked increasingly panicked. She turned to Diana. Mom, do something. Diana approached Elizabeth and James, attempting to insert herself into their conversation. Elizabeth the first? I know this looks bad, but Amanda has been under tremendous stress planning this wedding. Elizabeth's response was measured, but firm. Diana's stress does not excuse violence against a child. As a sitting family court judge, I cannot and will not ignore what I witnessed. Meanwhile, Dr. Marshall had helped me get Lily to a chair and was cleaning her wound with a first aid kit someone had retrieved. Is my daughter going to be okay? I asked him quietly. Physically, yes, he replied. But trauma like this can have emotional impacts. She should probably talk to someone professional about what happened today. Lily sat quietly, her earlier sobs reduced to occasional sniffles. Mom, I want to go home, she whispered. We're going to the hospital first, sweetie, I explained gently, to make sure your head is okay. Elizabeth returned to us, her expression grave but kind. My driver is waiting outside. He'll take you directly to Memorial Hospital. I've called ahead, they're expecting you. Thank you, I said, overwhelmed by her kindness. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't arrived. I've spent my career protecting children, she replied simply. Now, is there anything else you need before you go? I glanced at Amanda, who was now engaged in an intense conversation with James. Her face was flushed, and she was gesticulating wildly. James looked more distressed with each passing moment. No, I decided, we just need to leave. Elizabeth nodded. I'll be in touch tomorrow. Here's my card with my personal number. I'd like to follow up on Lily's condition. As Elizabeth helped us toward the exit, Diana made one last attempt to intercept us. Virginia, please don't blow this out of proportion. Amanda is sorry, aren't you, Amanda? Amanda, still arguing with James, didn't even acknowledge the question. Elizabeth fixed Diana with a steady gaze. Diana, I suggest you focus on damage control for your daughter's reception, rather than minimizing what she did. This incident may have legal consequences. Diana blanched. Legal consequences. But we're family. Family status doesn't exempt anyone from the law, Elizabeth stated firmly, especially when it comes to harming children. As we reached the door, Elizabeth spoke quietly to me. Virginia, I want you to know that what happened today was not your fault. No request for money, no matter how important someone thinks their event is, justifies what was done to your daughter. Her words broke something inside me, and tears filled my eyes. Thank you for saying that. Elizabeth squeezed my shoulder gently. Get Lily the care she needs. I'll handle things here and call you tomorrow. As we walked out, I heard Elizabeth's voice behind us, addressing the stunned wedding guests with calm authority. Ladies and gentlemen, due to unfortunate circumstances, the reception will be ending early. Please collect your belongings and make your way to the exits in an orderly fashion. The luxury car waiting outside was a stark contrast to the emotional devastation we carried with us. As we settled into the back seat, Lily leaned against me, her small body still trembling slightly. Why did Aunt Amanda hurt me, Mom? She asked in a small voice that broke my heart. Sometimes adults do terrible things when they're angry, I answered, holding her close. But that doesn't make it okay, and it wasn't your fault. Not at all. As the car pulled away from the venue, I looked back at the beautiful mansion where my sister's perfect day had disintegrated into a nightmare. Elizabeth stood on the steps, already on her phone, her expression determined. In the midst of the worst day of my recent life, I felt a glimmer of hope that someone powerful was on our side. The emergency room was mercifully quiet that evening. Lily was examined immediately, the staff responding to whatever Elizabeth had said in her call ahead. The doctor confirmed Dr. Marshall's assessment, a mild concussion, with no signs of more serious brain injury. They cleaned and bandaged the cut on her forehead and recommended monitoring her for the next 24 hours. As we waited for final discharge papers, the full weight of what had happened crashed over me. My own sister had physically assaulted my daughter. My mother had defended the attack. If Elizabeth hadn't intervened, how far would it have gone? Guilt gnawed at me. I should have protected Lily better, should have seen the danger signs, should have left the wedding earlier. "It's not your fault," Mom, Lily said suddenly, as if reading my thoughts. Even injured, she was trying to comfort me. I squeezed her hand gently. "I'm so sorry this happened to you, sweetheart." "I know," she replied simply. Then, after a pause, "Grandma and Aunt Amanda were really mean today." The understatement nearly made me laugh despite everything. Yes, they were. Very mean. "Are they always going to be mean now?" she asked. I didn't have an answer for that. I honestly didn't know what our family would look like after today. We were preparing to leave when Elizabeth appeared in the doorway of our examination room, still in her elegant wedding outfit, but looking remarkably composed given the circumstances. "I hope I'm not intruding," she said. "I wanted to check on Lily." "That's very kind of you," I replied, genuinely touched by her concern. She approached Lily's bed with a warm smile. "Hello, Lily. I'm James's mother. How are you feeling?" "My head hurts," Lily admitted, "but the doctor said I'll be okay." "I'm glad to hear that," Elizabeth said. "You were very brave today." Lily studied Elizabeth curiously. "Why did Aunt Amanda get scared when you came in?" Elizabeth glanced at me before answering carefully. "I'm a judge who works with children who have been hurt. People who hurt children know that I take it very seriously." Lily nodded, accepting this explanation. Elizabeth turned to me. "The reception ended shortly after you left. James is devastated. He had no idea Amanda was capable of such behavior." "What happens now?" I asked. "That depends partly on you," Elizabeth replied. "As a judge, I witnessed a clear case of child assault. Normally, I would be obligated to report it regardless of your wishes, but given the family relationship and Lily's age, I wanted to discuss options with you first." "What options do we have?" Elizabeth outlined the possibilities: pressing formal charges, which would likely result in Amanda facing assault charges, pursuing a restraining order without criminal charges, or handling it privately with strict conditions for any future contact. "Take some time to think about it," she advised. "This isn't a decision to make tonight. Whatever you choose, I'll support you." "Thank you," I said sincerely, "for everything you've done already." Elizabeth smiled sadly. "I've seen too many cases where family members excuse or enable abuse. I couldn't stand by and watch it happen." We spent the night at the hospital, the doctors wanting to monitor Lily's concussion symptoms. I slept fitfully in the chair beside her bed, waking at every small sound. By morning, Lily was feeling better though. The bruise on her forehead had darkened considerably. As we were preparing to leave, there was a knock at the door. James stood there looking exhausted and uncertain. "May I come in?" he asked hesitantly. I nodded, watching him carefully. James approached Lily's bed slowly. "Hi, Lily. I'm your Uncle James. We didn't get properly introduced yesterday." Lily regarded him warily, but nodded. "I wanted to say how sorry I am about what happened," James continued. "What Amanda did was wrong and there's no excuse for it." "Did you know she was going to hurt me?" Lily asked directly. James shook his head emphatically. I had no idea she could do something like that. If I had known." He trailed off, then squared his shoulders. "I wouldn't have married her." The statement hung in the air between us. What happens now? I asked, echoing my question to Elizabeth. James ran a hand through his disheveled hair. I don't know exactly. I've told Amanda she needs to get professional help immediately, or I'll file for an annulment. And my mother, I couldn't help asking. Diana is still making excuses, James admitted, saying Amanda was under stress, that you provoked her by refusing to help with the wedding. Elizabeth set her straight pretty firmly. Something still bothered me. James, there was never actually a catering emergency, was there? James looked genuinely confused. Catering emergency? What are you talking about? I explained the dinner meeting, the demand for $15,000, the claim that the original caterer had backed out. James's expression shifted from confusion to shock to anger. There was no catering crisis. We booked that company months ago and paid the deposit. They never backed out. Then what was the money for, I asked, though I already suspected the answer. Amanda mentioned wanting to upgrade our honeymoon from first class to a private jet, James said slowly. She said she was going to use her own savings, but I told her it wasn't necessary. He looked stricken. She tried to get the money from you for that, and involved your mother in the lie. I nodded, the final piece clicking into place. And when I refused, they apparently told you I was just being difficult and jealous. Virginia, I'm so sorry, James said, looking genuinely distressed. I had no idea any of this was happening, if I had known. It's not your fault, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. James turned to Lily again. Lily, I want you to know that your Aunt Amanda's behavior was completely wrong. No adult should ever hurt a child, no matter what. And I promise you that she will face consequences for what she did. Lily studied him for a moment, then nodded. Okay. I also want you both to know, James continued, that I will personally cover all medical expenses from this incident, as well as any therapy Lily might need. That's not necessary, I started to say. It is, James insisted. I can't undo what happened, but I can at least ensure you don't suffer financially because of it. Before I could respond, he added, and Virginia, my mother told me about the college fund you've been saving for Lily. That's admirable. I want to help with that too. James, we've only just met, I protested. You don't owe us anything. I know, he agreed. But I want to do this. Please let me. His sincerity was impossible to doubt. I simply nodded, too overwhelmed to argue further. After James left promising to keep in touch, a nurse arrived with our discharge papers. As we prepared to leave the hospital, I thought about the decisions ahead. Would I press charges against my own sister? Could our family ever recover from this? What was the right thing to do for Lily? With these questions weighing heavily, we headed home to begin the process of recovery and healing. The week after the wedding was surreal. News of what happened spread quickly through our extended family and friend circles. Some people reached out with support, while others seemed to take sides or distance themselves from the drama entirely. Lily recovered physically fairly quickly. The bruise on her forehead faded, and her concussion symptoms disappeared within days. The emotional impact, however, was more lasting. She had nightmares about falling and being hurt. She grew anxious around loud voices or arguments. She asked repeatedly why her aunt and grandmother had been so mean. I arranged for her to see a child psychologist, a gentle woman named Dr. Harper, who specialized in trauma. James, true to his word, covered the expenses without question. Elizabeth called daily to check on us, and became an unexpected source of support. She had a wealth of knowledge about childhood trauma and recovery, and she never pressured me about legal decisions. Take the time you need, she advised. The legal options will still be there when you're ready to decide. Amanda sent a text message 3 days after the wedding. I'm sorry things got out of hand. Hope Lily is feeling better. The inadequacy of the apology was staggering. No acknowledgement of the assault, no real ownership of her actions, just a passive suggestion that things got out of hand as if by themselves. I didn't respond. My mother called repeatedly, leaving increasingly frustrated voicemails. Virginia, you need to talk to Amanda. She's devastated about what happened. This silent treatment isn't helping anyone heal. I don't understand why you're being so difficult about this. Families fight, but then they make up. Finally, I texted her, Mom, what Amanda did wasn't a fight. It was assault on a child. Until you and she acknowledge that reality, we have nothing to discuss. She didn't call again after that. A week after the incident, Elizabeth invited us to her home for tea. Her house was elegant, but comfortable, with bookshelves lining the walls and fresh flowers in every room. James tells me Amanda has agreed to start therapy. Elizabeth informed me as we sat in her sunroom. Lily was in another room, drawing with art supplies Elizabeth had thoughtfully provided. Do you think it will help? I asked. Elizabeth considered the question carefully. That depends on whether she's going, because she genuinely wants to change, or just to appease James. Real change requires honest self-reflection. Have you spoken with her since the wedding? Briefly, Elizabeth admitted. She was defensive at first, but when I laid out the potential legal consequences in detail, she became more subdued. And James? James is struggling, Elizabeth said frankly. He's seen a side of Amanda he never knew existed, and he's questioning everything about their relationship. I felt a pang of sympathy for him, caught in a nightmare, not of his making. Virginia, Elizabeth continued, I've been thinking about your situation. If you'd be interested, I have a friend who runs a nonprofit legal advocacy center. They're looking for an office manager. The pay is better than average, and the hours would be compatible with Lily's school schedule. I stared at her in surprise. You'd recommend me for a job? You barely know me. I know enough, she replied simply. I've seen how you prioritize your daughter's well-being, how you've handled this crisis with dignity, despite the provocation. Those qualities are rare and valuable. The offer was unexpected, but welcome. My current jobs were barely covering our expenses, and the better salary would allow me to quit the weekend work and spend more time with Lily. Thank you, I said sincerely. I would be very interested. Elizabeth smiled. Excellent. I'll make the introduction. 2 weeks after the wedding, I finally made my decision about pressing charges. After consulting with Lily's therapist and a family attorney, Elizabeth recommended I chose not to pursue criminal charges, but instead filed for a temporary restraining order against Amanda and set strict conditions for any future contact. The conditions were non-negotiable. Amanda would continue therapy for at least 1 year. She would write a proper apology letter taking full responsibility for her actions. She would have no contact with Lily, unless Lily specifically requested it, and then only with supervision. Any violation would result in immediate legal action. James supported these conditions fully and added financial consequences of his own. Amanda would not have access to their joint accounts until she demonstrated meaningful progress in therapy. Diana was initially outraged by the restraining order, calling it extreme and vindictive. But when Elizabeth calmly explained the alternative could have been criminal charges and public court proceedings, she fell silent. The new job at the Legal Advocacy Center was perfect for me. The work was meaningful, the environment supportive, and the schedule allowed me to be home when Lily returned from school. My co-workers became friends, offering support and understanding as I navigated the aftermath of the wedding incident. Lily continued therapy, gradually processing her trauma. Dr. Harper marveled at her resilience. Children are remarkably adaptable, she told me, during one of our parent consultations. With consistent support and honest communication, they can recover from significant trauma. 3 months after the wedding, we had settled into a new normal. Lily was doing well in school again. Her nightmares had decreased, and she was returning to her artistic pursuits with enthusiasm. The Legal Advocacy Center had promoted me to executive assistant after recognizing my organizational skills. One unexpected development was our continued relationship with James and Elizabeth. Despite the circumstances of our meeting, they had become important figures in our lives. James, who had filed for divorce after Amanda refused to complete her therapy program, often joined us for Sunday brunches at Elizabeth's home. "You two are the silver lining in this whole mess," he told me one afternoon, as we watched Lily and Elizabeth planting flowers in the garden. "I lost a wife, but I gained a niece and friend." The final confrontation with my mother came unexpectedly. She showed up at our apartment one evening, demanding to speak with me. "This has gone on long enough," she declared, as she stepped inside, without waiting for an invitation. "You need to forgive your sister and move forward. Family is too important to throw away." I remained calm, a skill I'd been practicing in my own therapy sessions. "Mom, I agree that family is important. That's why I've been protecting my daughter from people who hurt her." "Amanda made one mistake," Diana exclaimed. "Assaulting a child isn't a mistake," I countered. "It's a choice, and your choice to defend and excuse her behavior is just as concerning." "So you're cutting us out of your lives forever. Is that your plan?" I sighed. "No, Mom. My plan is to establish healthy boundaries and require accountability. When Amanda completes therapy and takes genuine responsibility for what she did, we can discuss supervised visits. If you can acknowledge that what happened was wrong and stop making excuses for it, you could see Lily sooner." "This is ridiculous," Diana muttered. "In my day, families worked things out without all this therapy and legal nonsense." "In your day, a lot of abuse was ignored and excused," I replied evenly. "I'm breaking that cycle for Lily's sake." Diana left in anger, but I remained firm in my decision. The boundaries I had established weren't about punishment, they were about protection. That evening, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked a question that caught me off guard. "Mom, are you sad that Grandma and Aunt Amanda aren't in our lives anymore?" I considered my answer carefully. "I'm sad about the choices they made that led us here. I miss the relationship I wished we could have had. But I'm not sad about protecting you and creating a safer, healthier life for us." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "Elizabeth says, sometimes the family we choose is more important than the family we're born into." "Elizabeth is very wise," I agreed. "I think we chose a good family," Lily declared, snuggling under her covers. "You and me and Elizabeth and James." "I think we did too, sweetheart," I said, kissing her forehead where the bruise had once been. "I think we did too." The journey from that terrible wedding day to our current peace had been difficult but transformative. I had discovered strength I never knew I possessed. I had learned to set boundaries without guilt and to recognize manipulation tactics for what they were. Most importantly, I had shown Lily that love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment that family should protect, rather than harm, and that standing up for yourself isn't selfish but necessary. As our story spread through comments and shares, I received messages from others who had faced similar family betrayals. They thanked me for speaking out, for showing that it's possible to rebuild after family trauma. Their words reminded me that sharing our experiences can help others feel less alone in their struggles. So, if you're watching this and facing your own family crisis, remember, true family protects, supports, and respects boundaries. Sometimes the hardest choice is the right one. Sometimes walking away is the only way forward. And sometimes when one door closes, better ones open to reveal the family you truly deserve. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? How did you handle it? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that they're not alone. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, your worth is not determined by those who fail to value you.